Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Thai Guru Premanande. So I'd like to welcome all the devotees. Thank you very much for joining us. This probably will be our new timing from now on. So 3:30
until the clocks change again.
GMT until the clocks change. And of course, if we're still doing this seminars when the clocks change, that's going to be quite amazing. But anyway, so today are two great days, two great occasions. One is the celebration of Dussehra, where Lord Ramachandra defeats his arch rival enemy, Ravan, who of course is not an enemy, he's actually a devotee. And it's also the appearance of Madhvacharya. So I think many devotees will not be so much aware of Madhvacharya. So if devotees didn't mind, I wanted to go a little bit into his life first. Hopefully it should only take about 20-30 minutes. It's quite a lot to describe, but we can just whiz through it. But if there's anybody who would like it the other way around, that we talk about Dussehra, that is absolutely fine as well. So is there anybody who has an objection for, and you're welcome to, make a suggestion. There's absolutely no problem with that.
Haribol, can we do Dussehra first, please?
Yeah, okay. We can do Dussehra first. No problem at all. Let me just find the PowerPoint. And what I was proposing to do, again, Kamakshi, I'll take your guidance on this. Yesterday I breezed through Lord Ramachandra's life as much as you can within about 15 minutes. And this was to the children. And then we came to the pastime of Dussehra, which gives a little overview of Lord Ramachandra. Or we can be more specific and look at the actual day of Dussehra.
Yeah.
Is there a preference?
No, I'm happy with whatever you planned. I was just saying, do Dussehra first and then maybe Madhvacharya's afterwards.
So if devotees are okay, we can do a quick roundup of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. Not all of them, of course. And then we'll come to Dussehra towards the end of his pastimes.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
Is everybody okay with that? Okay, good. All right. Now let me find it. Here it is. Good. Oh. Yeah. So I think devotees will have come across Lord Ramachandra's pastimes many times in their lives. Perhaps the parents have told you the stories. Perhaps you've learned it at school. In Bharat especially, Ramayana is a topic which is definitely discussed. So firstly, we'd like to seek the blessings of the Vaishnavas, the devotees who are present, like your blessings and your good wishes, so that we can share something which will please Lord Ramachandra, Sita Mataji, and Lakshman, and Hanuman. And we'd like to also seek the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, so that we can relish this amazing pastime of Lord Ramachandra. He doesn't have to come to this world, but he comes in order to attract us back to him. That is the most important purpose why he comes. In Bhagavad Gita, he does say, Yada Ida Dharmasya Glane Bhavati Bharata. But then that's, to destroy the demons and reestablish religion. But actually, he's coming for us. Janma Karma Chame Devyam. He wants to share with us his wonderful pastimes. So when we remember those, we become purified. Okay. So Dashrath Maharaj It didn't have any offspring, and his advisors, the brahmanas and the sages, told him, do a yagya, and from that yagya we will obtain your desire. Your desire will be fulfilled. And sure enough, from the yagya came this amazing personality who gave Dashrath Maharaj some sweet rice, which he shared with his three main wives, and between them they had 4 children. And this is the eldest, Lord Ramachandra. And as far as I understand, his complexion is golden greenish color, a little bit like this. It's so nice to find this picture, because this seems to indicate his actual color. Sometimes you see him bluish in color, but the description given by Valmiki is golden green. Very, very beautiful. And you can see how gorgeous he looks. Now, who is Ramachandra? It's described in the scriptures that he is an avatar of Vishnu. So Vishnu, origin, cause of all causes, Sarva Karanam, is Krishna. From him, the first expansion is Balaram. And then you have the first quadruple expansion, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Padumna, Niruddha. So from Vasudev comes Ramachandra. And actually, all of them are Vishnu Tattva. They're all supreme personality, all 4 of them. So not just Ramachandra is Vishnu Tattva, but also Lakshman is as well as Bharat and Shatrughna. So Sankarshan, from him came Lakshman, Bharat came from Padumna, and Shatrughna incarnated from Aniruddha. So I'm going to just go through this quite quickly. So 4 children were absolutely darlings. They were very respectful, very helpful, very loving, and all the mothers loved all of the children. Kaushalya had Ramachandra, Kaikeyi had Bharat, and Sumitra had Shatrughna and Lakshman. But they were loved equally. In fact, it's said that Kaikeyi loved Ram more than anybody. When the king became quite old, he decided that he wanted to make Ram the next king because of his divine qualities. They all had divine qualities, but Ramachandra stood out. And Kaikeyi initially was very happy, but Mantra convinced her, her maidservant convinced her that actually this is not a good thing. This is actually going to be detrimental, because he will throw you out of the palace, and he will throw Bharat out of the palace. Of course, before that, there's a few things that happened. They went to Gurukul, and then Vishwamitra came, and he requested from Dashrath Maharaj the assistance of Ramachandra and Lakshman. And eventually Dashrath agreed, and they went to the forest, and they did lots of seva for the sages. Ramachandra liberated Ahalya. It's interesting how his feet touched the stone, which turned into Ahalya. And then the boatman, I forgot his name now. And I'm sure devotees will know a lot more than I do about Ramayana.
Kevat.
Kevat, thank you. Thank you very much. Kevat said, I have to wash your feet. No, I'm not going to let you wash my feet. Ramachandra said, no, I have to wash your feet. He was really stubborn. He said, why? Ramachandra, well, you touched a stone and it turned into a lady. I'm not going to have you touch my boat and turn it into another daughter. I've got one daughter already, and that's enough. So really amazing pastime between devotee and the Lord. And then Vishwamitra brought them to Mithila, where they Ramachandra was in the court for her Swayamvar, Sita's Swayamvar, and he very easily lifted this bow, which belonged to Parshuram. It was Shiva's bow, that's right. And they had their Viva Samskar. Parshuram came. Who dare break the bow of Shiva? And Ramachandra looked him in the eye and said, I am Ram. And Parshuram realized that this is the original Ram, and he submitted himself. So then we come back to that story. Initially, Kaikeyi was so happy. Mantra convinced her that actually it's not for your benefit. And Kaikeyi was the favorite queen of the king. And also she was very, very powerful. She had been granted 2 boons in the past, that she was in a battle with the king, and she saved the king's life, and he was very pleased with her, and he gave her 2 boons. But she said at that time she didn't want them, and when she wanted them, she would demand them. And this was when she demanded them. She said to the king, I want you to make my son the king, not Ramachandra. And the king was okay with that, because Bharat was as good as Ramachandra. There was hardly any difference between them. But then she was thinking that if Ram remained in the palace, it'll be a constant threat to Bharat. So she said to the king, banish Ram for 14 years. And that destroyed the king. He couldn't do anything after that. And it led to his death, eventual death. And then the queen, she demanded Ram to come to the palace, and she told him about the vow of the king to give the promises. And she said, this is the promises I want, and you need to go to the forest. The Ramachandra came as the ideal human being, the supreme personality of Godhead, but ideal son, ideal ruler, ideal everything. And he paid respects to his mother, Kaikeyi, stepmother, and he said, yes, if that is what you want me to do, I would be happy. You didn't even have to bother my father. You could have told me yourself. I would have done exactly what you tell me. Normally, of course, people would be very much disappointed with such situation, maybe angry, frustrated. But Ramachandra behaved impeccably. Sita wanted to go with Ram, and Ram tried to dissuade her, but she was very, very clear in her vision that I will be with my husband. And also Lakshman joined them, and Ramachandra was powerless to stop them, actually. So in the forest, there was a reason, of course, they went there to protect the sages and to be one with nature. Ramachandra, he doesn't have to go anywhere, let alone to the forest. But he did this to perform wonderful pastimes. And this is Kevat washing the feet of Lord Ramachandra and taking him across the, whatever holy river that was, can't remember now, Ganga. And then we've got a little like the reasons why Dashrath suffered as he did, because he previously shot an innocent man, and then he was cursed that you will, by his mother and father, you will suffer like we did, and we without your son at the end of your time, which he unfortunately was. Bharat found out what happened. He came back, he saw the omens. They were not good omens. He came back, everybody was looking at him with daggered eyes, and he couldn't understand. He went to the father's palace, father was not there. He went to the mother's palace, nobody would talk to him. The mother said, great news for you, you are the next king. What? He said, what do you mean I'm the next king? Where's dad? Where's father? He's died. Where's Ram? He's in the forest. What? How come? What has he done wrong to be in the forest while father was suffering? I sent him there. And then Bharat exploded, absolutely exploded. He could have done anything to his own mother. But he controlled himself. He knew that Ram wouldn't be happy if he did something nasty. But he wouldn't talk to Kaikeyi. And then Kaikeyi realized, terrible, terrible mistake. Terrible mistake. So they went to the forest. They went to beg Ram to come back. Bharat was completely devastated. Initially, Lakshman was even thinking, oh, Bharat's come with the army to destroy you. There's many, many pastimes, but we haven't got time to go through them. So then, anyway, Ramachandra said, no, I have to fulfill my father's promise. I've given my word and I'm going to stick to it. And then eventually Bharat demanded the shoes of Ram, which he placed on the throne. And He lived a life just like Ramachandra, a mendicant life outside in a little hut, sleeping on the floor, eating just berries and roots. And then Ramachandra, they carried on walking. They went to, anybody remember the name? Was it Panchavati or something like that?
Panchvati.
There, Sita, and they really enjoyed until Supanka came, and there was a incident between her and Lakshman. He cut her nose off, and she went to Ravan and told him, Sita is so beautiful, should be your wife, not Ram's wife. He's just a human being. And then uh, the Ravan devised the plan with Maricha to come and take Ram and Lakshman away from Sita. Sita would be on her own. He disguised himself as a deer, and he could mimic his voice. He was shouting out from deep into the forest. Ram left Sita, told Lakshman to look after, so that he could get this deer which Sita wanted, and he would shout out Maricha, Lakshman, help me, help me. And in this way, he convinced Sita that Ram was in trouble. And eventually, after a while, Sita really protested against Lakshman, said some really bad things. Lakshman had to leave Sita, but he drew this Lakshman Rekha around Sita. And there was a reason for that, which we can very quickly describe. Then Ravan came on the scene. Initially, he couldn't penetrate this Lakshman Rekha, and then he disguised himself as a sage, and he requested food from Sita, and was ready to curse her if she didn't bring the food out to him, which she did. She was very innocent. He grabbed her. And of course, this is a very nice joke, which Jayanti loves. Ravan always has a tough time in the restaurants because he's got 10 heads and they charge per head. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why my thing is gone. It's 10 pounds per head, so he has to pay 10 times more than anybody else. Anyway, in the process of kidnapping, Jatayu came, vulture bird, and he knew he wasn't strong enough, but he tried his best to stop Ravan. He fought for 48 minutes, and his logic was, it's enough time to put it in the next Chogaryo, the next Murhat, so that Ravan will not succeed. It was an inauspicious time. So he did enough. He did enough. He fought enough, but he was eventually badly injured. And then Ramachandra, they eventually realized it has been kidnapped. They found Jatayu, and he told him what happened. And he did the burial rites for Jatayu. He missed out on his father's, but he did Jatayu's. Such a fortunate soul. Then there were many other pastimes. He met Sabri, and eventually Hanuman. And Hanuman recognized them immediately as he's the most intelligent person. He's well-versed in the scriptures. So, and of course, Ram was behaving as a human being, and he was inquiring, who are you? But Hanuman took him to Sugriv, and then they made an alliance. The Vali was killed, the Sugrim's brother, by Ramachandra. Very interesting pastime. Very, very interesting pastime. And some people say, hey, this was very cowardly of Ramachandra, but actually it wasn't. And he explained that to Vali because Vali questioned him. And after the explanation, Vali said, yes, my dear Lord, you are absolutely right to do what you did. I deserved it. So this was amazing pastime. And then Hanuman, eventually they found, there's a long, long story about what happened. They looked everywhere, the monkey army. Eventually they came to the south, and Hanuman was so distraught, he was willing to kill himself because they hadn't found Sita. But then it was Jatayu's brother, what's his name? Sampati? Something like that, Sampati. He said he found out because they were talking about Jatayu, and he heard. And he said, hey, I know where Ravan has taken Sita. It's in Lanka, across the ocean. So then Hanuman was reminded of his powers and he flew across the ocean. That was a journey on its own. There was so many things that happened in that journey, but we won't go through those. He looked in the palaces. He saw all these beautiful women. None of them fitted the description of Sita, thank goodness. So then he started looking in the gardens. In the Ashoka garden, the favorite garden of Ravan, he found Sita. And he, of course, didn't go directly to her. He waited. He was reciting Ramayan. Sita was listening. And then he slowly revealed himself. Because Sita would have been very suspicious. Ram gave him his signet ring, so that he presented to Sita to convince her that he was a genuine person. And then Sita was convinced, and Sita was very grateful. Hanuman said, I can rescue you straight away. We can go back to Ram. Just jump on my back. And Sita said, no, no, no. I can't do that, Hanuman. And also, if I come with you, and then who will destroy this crazy demon? So she was willing to suffer a little bit more so that the demon can be destroyed. Ram's fame can increase. And he would rescue her himself, which is actually the way of the Kshatriya. Of course, Hanuman did a lot of damage in the meantime. He knew Ram wouldn't be happy with causing so much damage. So anyway, they put his tail to fire. What could he do? He went all around Lanka, pretty much destroyed all over Lanka with the fire from his tail. There were other things that happened as well. This is Angad, actually, isn't it? Yeah, it's Angad. He's in the wrong place. Or is he the messenger, isn't he? He's the messenger. So anyway, Hanuman went back to Ram, told him where Sita was, and they were very joyful. And Ramachandra said to him, I can never repay you this debt. Can you imagine? He was saying amazing things. Anyway, they came to Rameshwar, where the closest point to Lanka, and Ramachandra worshipped Shiva, which is another amazing thing, because Shiva is, of course, a devotee of Ramachandra. And this is the glory of the Lord, the humility of the Lord. He will worship the devotee. The devotee wants to worship him, but he will worship the devotee. And Ravan, of course, was a great devotee of Shiva. So Ramachandra followed the etiquette. He called upon Shiva and said, I want to defeat your demon, your devotee. So he took his permission. The ocean, he waited for the ocean wouldn't come. He just strung his bow in anger, and suddenly the ocean was boiling, and suddenly the personality of ocean came and said, please forgive us. I was a little too proud. I hadn't realized who you are. And the ocean gave permission for the bridge to be built, and they built the bridge with stones and rocks, which is incredible. They would write the name of Ram on every stone and build the bridge in that way. Ramachandra himself said to the monkeys, I will help you. Well, he didn't say actually, he did it in private. Let me throw a stone. But he didn't have the Ram's name on it, because I am Ram, he said to himself. When he put the stone on the water, it sank. And then Hanuman saw him, and Hanuman said, no, Lord, you can't do that. Your name is more powerful than you are. Whoever you throw away will always sink in this world, but your name will always protect them. So this was an incredible point, because we often say Lord Ramachandra's name is more powerful than he himself. God's name is more powerful than him. This is an example of that situation. So that was interesting. And then they made the bridge, they crossed over. Ramachandra accepted everybody's help, even the little squirrel. Hanuman was proud of the big stones he was throwing. He asked the squirrel to move aside, but Ramachandra said, no, Hanuman, that is your pride. That squirrel is doing his very best. So we might also think, what can we do for God? What is in our capacity? So not much. So whatever we do to the best of our capacity, the Lord will accept it. Because Lord Ramachandra said to the squirrel, your service is as good as Hanuman's. So we should do our best. And apparently NASA has seen the bridge underwater, I don't know how true this is, but and we went there a few years ago. This is Path. He picked up a stone. These stones are still there. There's a well of water there. He put this stone on the water and it floated. This was amazing. Vibhishan came to surrender to Ramachandra. Another very instructive story. And Ramachandra asked Hanuman and Sugriv, what shall I do? And he said, no, kill him. He's a brother of Ravan. But Vibhishan came in a very humble mood, surrendered mood. And he surrendered actually to Ramachandra. And Ramachandra said, made a vow, whoever surrenders to me, I will give them protection. So yeah, he's so compassionate. Even once he said, even if once they say, I surrender to Ram, I will protect them. So it was very, very interesting. Ramachandra's attitude. It's a very amazing attitude. And then they crossed over. Ramachandra walked the 800 kilometers. Didn't take him long. This is Ram, and Lakshman, this is Hanuman, and Jambavan. So it's a formidable army, formidable army. And they fought for 9 days. We've just been through Navratras, the 9 days of fighting. The demon army had great weapons. The monkey army didn't have. They had wooden clubs mainly, but they defeated the monkey army. Of course, many things happened, the demon army. Many things happened. There was a time when Indrajit came into the battlefield. He was one of the strongest fighters amongst them all. And he fired his arrows of snakes. And in that way, Ram and Lakshman succumbed, as well as Sugrim and Jambavan, many of the other leaders. They were caught by these snakes and everybody thought they're dead. But then Garud came and he flapped his wings. And just by doing that, the snakes ran away. They're very scared of Garud. And Lord Ram said to Garud, thank you so much for saving my life. And of course, Garud knows this is a supreme personality of God. And there's no question of saving his life. He's the savior of our life. So he said to Lord Ramchandra, I've just come to observe this fantastic battle that you're going to have with Ravan. And then there was another incident, same thing with Indrajit again. He was so powerful. He even made Lakshman look like he was dead. And they needed a Sanjeevani, some herbs from Himalayas. Hanuman went there, couldn't work out which herb. He thought, if I make a mistake, it's not good. Let me just take the whole mountain. There he is. He's got the whole mountain. Such an amazing servant. And then on the final day, the Dussehra day, today is the day we're celebrating the demise of Ravan. Why does Ram need to fight? He doesn't need to fight. He can get anybody. He could get Hanuman to fight Ravan and defeat him. No problem.
I could give him a heart attack.
Give him a heart attack. He's in the heart.
That's what they're saying this morning.
Give him the coronavirus. No problem. He'll be gone. But Lord likes to fight sometimes, but he can't fight in the spiritual world. Nobody will fight with him. They're all his devotees. So he sends somebody special to this world and he fights with them. This is Jay or Vijay, I can't remember which one. But this is previously in his previous life, he was a gatekeeper in Vaikuntha, cursed to come to the material world, all arranged by Sri Krishna, Sri Ramachandra, in order for Ram to have a glorious battle. And he really thoroughly enjoyed the fight. And Ravan was a formidable opponent. And he was very hard to kill because he had 10 heads. Every time Ram would shoot off a head, another one would grow back. Eventually, Vibhishan revealed the secret. Of course, Ramachandra knows everything, but he was acting like a human being. Sweet pastimes. And Vibhishan said to him, actually, I know the secret. His power is in his navel, and you can shoot a magical arrow into Brahmastra, into his navel, and that will finish him. That's exactly what Lord Ramachandra did. So he really enjoyed this battle. And the 10 heads have some significance. We all have these heads, unfortunately. pride, greed, anger, lust, delusion, jealousy, negative attitude, ego, selfishness, hatred. So actually today is a wonderful day where we can request the Lord to help us with his magical arrow, shoot these horrible heads that we manifest now and then. And the Lord will help. He will help us get rid of all our bad habits. We can't do it on our own. We need his help. We need his assistance. We need his holy names. We need his personal association in order to become devotee-like. So this is the real significance of Dussehra. For us, this is the real celebration. How can we beg the Lord, pray to the Lord for his kind mercy to make us into devotees by destroying the ego and the hatred and the jealousy and all of those different things that we are constantly under attack from. And of course, there's always the burning of the effigies. Of course, nowadays may not be so much taking place because of the virus that's going around, but they would have effigies of Ravan, they would have effigies of Kumbhakarna and Indrajit. Usually it's those three. And there would be a huge celebration where there would be arrows fired into these effigies and huge fires coming out of these effigies. Just to make a final point, Mother Sita was made to go through the fire. This was one of the reasons Lakshman made the vow that I will never take birth as, I will never come back as his younger brother. I'll be his older brother. I'll tell him what to do. Because Ramchandra said to him, build a fire. We have to test Mother Sita. And that broke the heart, not just of Lakshman, of all the monkeys. All this, for that, they were thinking, we fought so hard so that Sita would be tested. But they didn't understand that actually the real Sita, nobody can take. Who can take Lakshmi Devi from Vishnu? Who can take Sita from Ram? So when Lakshman made the Lakshman Rekha at that time, actually, when she crossed that line, Agni Dev took the real Sita to his kingdom and replaced her with the illusion Sita. And this was the illusionary Sita. Still very powerful, still very amazing, but nonetheless illusionary. And when they made this fire, that's when Agni Dev brought the real Sita back, who came out of the fire, and the other illusionary Sita was destroyed. So this is a pastime actually told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was one devotee who was completely in anguish in South Bharat, and he could not understand. He was just crying all the time. How can Ravan touch my mother Sita? Why would Ram allow that? So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this, and then later on he found a scripture. Was it the Kurma Puran, where this is very clearly stated? And he went back to that Brahmin and showed him, this is the script, this is the evidence. So, and then we can talk about the rest when it's time for Diwali in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. So that's the pastime of, wow, we've gone really far. That's the pastime of Dussehra. Anybody like to share anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
We will keep it for Diwali.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear about Madhvacharya.
Okay. Quick on to Madhvacharya.
Because Diwali will have to speak about Lord Ram again. So we have many things to say, and then we have many questions also to ask. So for Diwali.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Let me just find the presentation. Oh, Krishna. 1 second. No, I'll tell you what, this is the way to do it. So Madhvacharya is an amazing personality. He is in this Guru Parampara and one of the main personalities. He's regarded as a Sampradaya Acharya, which is like the leader of the whole Sampradaya. And I would say Prabhupada is in the same line. Prabhupada is also a Sampradaya Acharya, leader of the whole Sampradaya. Right, can you see anything?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, this is Madhvacharya. Now, why do we speak about these glorious personalities when they appear and disappear? Because we want to seek their blessings, and especially from Madhvacharya, we want to seek his blessings
Get some
to
inspiration.
get some inspiration and really try to absorb ourselves in their mood, what their mood was and how they become so amazing. So just to give a little historical background, Krishna, he left this world 5,000 years ago, after which Lord Buddha came. And he came because the Vedas were being misused by the Brahminical society. And they were doing all sorts of animal sacrifices, really to satisfy their tongues. They were unauthorized. And Buddha came and said, stop, don't look at the Vedas, don't refer to the Vedas, right? And he was powerful enough because he was Shaktivesh avatar. So he basically took away the Vedic traditions, and that became a problem because nobody was following the Vedas, even the good portions of the Vedas. So then Lord Krishna ordered Shankaracharya, who is none other than Lord Shiva himself, to come and re-establish the Vedas, but also at the same time to preach that God is impersonal, that one can become God if one achieves a certain level of perfection. So the reason he wanted to do that was to give the people, the Brahminical society, this incentive. Ah, yes, I can also become God. So let's go back into the Vedas. Then the four main sampradayas, or acharyas of the sampradayas arrived in order to displace Shankaracharya's teachings. Shankaracharya didn't even want to teach like this because this is a really horrible teaching. You can become God. That's the last snare of Maya. Anyway, the four sampradayas, Rudra, Shri, four Kumars, and Brahma, Vishnu Smami, Ramanujacharya, Nimbakacharya, they all came, one after the other, right? Separated by hundreds of years. But effectively, bit by bit, they destroyed the impersonal philosophy. But the one who did the most damage to the impersonal philosophy was Madhvacharya. He came 1200 AD. After 300 years later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And then 400 or 500 years later, Prabhupada came. I won't go through this. I'll share it in the notes, but this would take a little too long to go through. So let's see what he actually did. So bit of background, bit of summary. Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita that by all the Vedas, I am to be known. The Buddhist philosophy destroyed that. Then Shankaracharya came, re-established the Vedas, but he, as I said before, he did it in a way to give incentive to the Brahmins, but it was actually not a sustainable religious practice because it was impersonal. Then Madhvacharya and the other spiritual masters came one by one. They soundly defeated this impersonal view and re-established that the absolute truth is Krishna, a personality of Godhead, the personality of Godhead. Madhvacharya appeared with a mission to fight and defeat Shankaracharya's Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavad philosophy. After Shankaracharya, who had previously toured Bharat, spreading impersonalism, Madhvacharya also traveled the length and breadth of Bharat. This is what is unique about Madhvacharya. Two things actually. One is his philosophy, but second, he traveled very widely, just like Shankaracharya did. None of the other three sampradayas, the gurus, traveled so widely as Madhvacharya. So his birth, he was born in roughly 1232, 39, sorry, yeah. And he appeared, his original name was Vasudev, in the village of Panchaka Kshetra near Udupi, Karnataka. I don't know if anybody's been there. We've been there a few times, a phenomenal place. And he was born in a Brahmanical family. His father's name was Madhvacharya Pata. When he was 5, he was so powerful, he received spiritual initiation. He would attend lectures of his father's and correct his own father. He was at the age of 3 at that time, right? He would correct. There was one lecturer who came to give a class, and this boy, Vasudev, questioned him about a meaning of a certain word he used. He didn't know what that word meant, the Charya. So the boy, 3 years old, told him, caused a riot. So when he was 12, against the wishes of his father, he accepted sannyas. Sannyas, the renounced order of life. So you can see how determined this young fellow was. At that tender age, Madhav gave up all family ties to travel the length and breadth of Bharat in quest of spiritual knowledge. He's actually considered to be an incarnation of Vayu, the wind god. So he's very, very powerful. Just like Bhim and Hanuman, they're also partial incarnations of Vayu. When his mother would be anxious about him, whenever she was anxious, he would always come before her in one jump, wherever he was playing. So when he was little. Even as a young boy, he was renowned as a scholar. It is said that his father piled up many debts, and to pay them off, Madhav converted tamarind seeds into coins and paid off his debts. So he had mystic powers. Madhav also goes by the name of Purna-Pragya. That was actually his sannyas name. After he got sannyas, he got this name Purna-Pragya and Ananda Tirtha. And he was very, very strong. Very, very, very strong. And some of the powers we've got here. There was, when he was a tiny boy, in fact, there was a demon called Maninam, lived in the form of a snake. He killed him with the big toe of his left foot. Once a Bengal tiger attacked one of his disciples, Satyatirtha, and Madhvacharya wrestled him to the ground and he sent him away with his tail between his legs. Often in the province of Ganga Pradesh, there were fights between Hindus and Muslims. The Hindus were on the bank of the river and the Muslims on the other. Due to community tension, no boat were available for crossing the river. The Muslim soldiers were always stopping passengers on the other side. But Madhvacharya did not care for these soldiers. He crossed the river anyway. And when he met the soldiers on the other side, he was brought before the king. The Muslim king was so pleased with him because he showed great valor. He wanted to give him a kingdom and some money, but Madhvacharya refused. He renounced. While walking on the road, he was attacked by some dacoits, and by his bodily strength, he killed them all. So these were some of his powers. There was a lot more, but I just picked a few things. His main mission was the pursuit of the absolute truth. He wrote 3 books, 3 treatises on the Vedanta Sutra, the Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads. And his theology is known as Shuddha Dvaita, pure dualism, that there is God and there's us. They're always different. By giving a pure interpretation of Vedanta Sutra, he promoted pure theism. He named his innovative Shastric explanation Dvaita Dvaita Vada, pure dualism. Madhvacharya's learnings and devotion to Krishna were famous throughout Bharat. He traveled extensively throughout Bharat, defeated innumerable Jain, Buddhists, Mayavadis, atheists, logicians, agnostics. In the course of his travels, Madhav visited Badrikaksha. He wanted to actually meet with Vyasdev, a place of pilgrimage high in the Himalayas. He met Vyasdev and he spoke his interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita. And Vyasdev was very pleased with Madhvacharya. In fact, the line goes of this sampradaya from Vyasdev to Madhvacharya. Because under Vyasdev, Madhav learned a lot. And Vyasdev also gave him a Shalagram Shila named Ashtamurti. And he approved his Bhagavad Gita commentary and blessed him with deeper realization of the scriptures. This is Vyasdev and Madhvacharya on the mountains. His pastimes in Udupi, because after the Himalayas visit, he returned back to his birthplace near Udupi, near Udupi. And an incredible pastime took place. There was a ship that approached if you know Udupi and Karnataka is on the coast. So a ship was in danger. There was a great storm. And Madhvacharya, he was swimming at that time in the ocean. He guided the ship to safety. And the captain became very, very pleased with Madhvacharya. And he said to Madhvacharya, what would you like? Now, this ship had something very unusual, Gopi Chandan, the tilak that we put on. And Madhav, he could see with his inner vision that this Gopi Chandan had something very special within it. So he asked for Gopi Chandan. And the ship captain was thinking, is that all? I can give you so much more. But he gave. It took 30 people to carry this lump of clay, right? It was very heavy. And that was because there was actually a murti of Bal Krishna, Krishna in his childhood, within that lump of clay. This deity was so heavy that the very fact, but Madhvacharya, he was able to lift it on his own. So it used to be 30 people to carry the deity, but he lifted it on his own. And then he revealed what this deity is all about. Apparently, this deity was made by the divine architect Vishwakarma and was kept by Krishna's leading queen, Rukmini, in Dwaka, in Dwapa Yuga. So this is a deity that actually Rukmini Devi herself worshipped. Very interesting. And here is, this is how he lovingly carried the deity. 30 men couldn't do it. He was doing it on his own. When Dwaka was submerged in the sea at the end of Krishna's time, the deity was lost. So now this deity is being worshipped in Udupi. And we'll see in a little while, I've got some pictures of the deity. The deity has a stick in one hand and a lump of food in the other. As soon as Madhvacharya received the deity in this way, he composed a beautiful prayer. Madhvacharya personally brought and installed this deity to Udupi. And the worship of this Krishna deity is still going on at Udupi according to the plans Madhvacharya established. He had 8 principal disciples. They were all sannyasis, renounced order. And each of them, he asked them to build their own monasteries around the temple. So these 8 maths were established around the temple, and each one serves this deity in their different ways. And they have quite a rigorous regime of rituals, and they're always punctual. I remember whenever we go there, bang on time, everything's, and they have incredible behavior, isn't it? Pakka Brahmins. Every Ekadashi, they observe Nirjal, no food, no water. So this is what he looks like. Very, very beautiful. And you can only see him through a little cubby hole. And there was a reason for that. The main doors, one time somebody wanted to have darshan, and this person, they wouldn't give him darshan for whatever reason, perhaps a different caste or something. But the Lord really liked this devotee. So this this devotee, he didn't get darshan, so he was looking from a little window, and the Lord at that time turned to give him darshan. So now we also,
he's facing east. He's facing the wrong direction just for his devotee.
he's facing south.
Yeah.
For the sake of his devotee.
Yeah.
So now everybody has to take darshan from this little window. And his eyes are piercing. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. They're looking straight into the heart and saying, come back to me. And this is the temple from outside. Quite a fascinating place. And they have wonderful facilities. They bathe their deities as, not the Gopal, but other deities,
The Utsav deity.
Utsav deities. They have lots of celebrations. And that's the main temple there. So what are his teachings? He had 9 principal teachings. Bhagavan Sri Krishna alone is supreme absolute truth, one without a second. He is the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. 3, the universe is real, Satya. This is one of the arguments of Sankaracharya, that everything is false and illusion. But no, this universe is real. It's only thing is it's temporary. It's not going to last forever, but it's still real. The differences between Ishwar, Jiva, and matter are real differences. And this is the Dvaita Vata. Jiva souls are by nature the servants of the Supreme Lord Hari. Number 6, there are 2 categories of jivas, those who are eternally liberated and those who are eternally illusioned. 7 is liberation. Moksha means attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, entering an eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Lord. 8, pure devotional service to Krishna is the only way to attain this liberation. 9, the truth may be known by pratyaksha, direct perception, anuman, inference or logic, shabda, spiritual sound, or Vedic authority. So we can relate to every single one of these. And yeah, we can just go into that. Prabhupada's comments on Madhvacharya. Srila Madhvacharya is the original Acharya for those who belong to the Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya. So our Sampradaya is called Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya. And we'll just come into that in a minute. This Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya is known also as Brahma Sampradaya because of the cyclic succession originally began from Brahma, who instructed it to Narad, who gave it to Vyas, who instructed Madhvacharya. This is from the Krishna book. Among the 4 acharyas who are all accepted by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Sri Ramanujacharya appeared in the south part of Andhra. Madhvacharya appeared at Pajakam. Vishnu Swami appeared Pandya, and Nimbakacharya appeared in Mugera Patana in the extreme south. Mahaprabhu accepted the chain of disciplic succession from Madhvacharya. But the Vaishnavas in his line do not accept the Tattvavadis, who also claim to belong to the Madhva Sampradaya. So within the Madhvacharya, there's a class of devotees called the Tattvavadis. To distinguish themselves clearly from the Tattvavadis of Madhva's descendants, the Vaishnavas of Bengal prefer to call themselves Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So we attach ourselves to the Gaudiya version, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Madhvacharya is also known as Sri Gauda Purnananda, and therefore the name Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya is quite suitable for the disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, accepted initiation into Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya originates with Madhav. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers thoroughly studied Madhava's works before compiling their philosophy. For the Sat Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami drew heavily from Madhva's writings. Jiva Goswami found the Gaudiya philosophy of Achintya Bede Bede Tattva in Madhva's Bhagavad Pariya. So this philosophy is the most interesting because it says we are different from God, but also we are one with God. We're one in terms of quantity, spirit, but we're different in terms of in terms of quality, we are one, spirit, but in terms of quantity, we are completely different. We are tiny. So we can become subjected to Maya's influence, whereas Krishna can never be. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself visited Udupi, the seat of Madhva's sect, and the Lord introduced Harinam Sankirtan into their sect. So it's a two-way street. Pramaya Ratnavali, Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushan summarized the 9 principles common to both Chaitanya and Madhav's teachings. And one time we looked at how Baladev Vidya Bhushan went to Jaipur and defeated the Sri Sampradaya on the basis of that we have a proper lineage, proper Sampradaya. The Gaudiyas is a proper Sampradaya. And then the king allowed the worship of Govindji by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. In Vaishnav Siddhantamala, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered all Gaudiya Vaishnavas to carefully observe the 9 instructions of truth given by Madhvacharya through our Guru Parampara. And who is Madhvacharya in spiritual world? He serves as Madhvi Gopi in Radha Govind's eternal Vrindavan pleasure pastimes. He passed from this material world at the age of 80 while writing a commentary on Aitariya Upanishad. So time is, we don't have to go through this. This is just a little bit of extra information, which I'll share it in the notes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so amazing. He blended all 4 sampradayas into the Gaudiya philosophy. So he took 2 wonderful teachings from each of them and incorporated it within this. So, and Mahaprabhu can do that because he's a supreme personality of Godhead himself. I won't go into the detail of this, but there's some amazing things in here. And this is the Guru Parampara. Krishna, Brahma, Narad, Vyas, Madhvacharya. And then it goes further down to his disciple. And there's another Madhava who's totally different. And then ultimately we come back down to Prabhupada. And then we have our Guru Maharaj. So that's it. Madhvacharya ki jai, the Dussehra festival ki jai. Whew. I hope that was okay. Everybody sleep?
Krishna Prabhuji, this is Uddhav.
Hi, Krishna,
Prabhuji.
you should be asleep. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Good.
Can I know the source of this research, please?
The source is basically there's a book called I've got it here by an ISKCON devotee called Purna Pagya. Funny, Purna Pagya. Here it is.
Okay.
Life of Madhvacharya.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice and very well explained.
Thank you so much. So Uddhav, yes, how are you?
I'm fine, Prabhuji. I have a question.
Sure.
So Madhvacharya took initiation at the age of 5, right?
His father gave him, normally he's given at 8. You know, the usual Janoi.
Yeah.
Right.
But he gave it to him at 5 because he was so knowledgeable.
Okay, so it was his father who gave him.
Yeah, his father gave it to him.
Okay, no, because I was wondering in the Guru Parampara, we have Ved Vyasa's name as his spiritual master, but not his Diksha Guru. So I was wondering why that is so. Is it because the teachings were different?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the teachings of the father were from the Vedas, but he was correcting his own father, remember? So who was the guru? I'm not sure. But actually, this line is anyway based on shiksha,
Okay.
if you recall. Diksha is there, but actually the more important aspect of this line is a shiksha line. So for example, in this line, for example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his Guru Maharaj, who initiated him, was, I think, Vipin Bihar. But actually, when we look at the line, we told it's Jagannath Das Babaji. Because actually, Jagannath Das Babaji was his Shiksha Guru.
Okay.
So he took Shiksha, which is regarded to be more important than Diksha.
Okay.
So from Ved Vyas, he may or may not have got formal Diksha, but he took Shiksha.
Okay.
So this line is on Shiksha, basis of Shiksha.
Okay. Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining, and I'm amazed you're not asleep. Anybody else? Anil usually have some nice question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Many things are new to me, so I was just absorbing the information.
Yes. And from the Ram Leela, I think maybe we can take those questions when it comes for Diwali time. Anybody else? Any points? Anything that you'd like to share? Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And we can go to